Welcome to the Real Chili Podcast.
And the Golden Eagles of Marquette University in Milwaukee are bound for the Final Four for only the third time ever.
5 seconds left. Marquette down by one, trying to avoid the upset. Blue the drive, the left hand. It's good. 1 second to play. Vander Blue has put Marquette in front by one.
And I want to win every day as basketball players, as students, and I want to win every day, most importantly, as people.
The offseason is mercifully over. Welcome to 2019-20 and the Real Chili Podcast. I'm Brian Henry. We got 2 Pete's and a podcast tonight. Woohoo!
We got it all, baby.
We're back.
Brian's ability to go from calmly talking about what we're going to talk about on this pod to that is off the charts.
We're coming in so very hot. It's the first week in November. It doesn't matter, though. Welcome to the Real Chili Podcast. It's been a long off season. We were terrible at giving you content, but we're the game people. This is what we do. We react to what we watch in front of us. Other people are better at recruiting and what the roster is going to be. We'll just react to what's happening in front of us. Guys, it's great to be back. It's great to get a W out of the gate. Immediate thoughts. Pete Worth, the newly married Pete Worth. You get the floor first. Take it.
Well, as a newly married man and growing extremely more mature than I was a month ago, I could compare myself to the Markus Howard.
Go on.
Although he's not
Go on.
a married man quite yet, and this is quite the stretch that I'm coming up with just off the top of my head.
What about you is exactly high volume?
Oh, I won't get into that, but
Volume wordplay, probably.
Markus Howard going back to doing Markus Howard things, the Markus that we've come to know and love, and he wasted no time.
Pete Mohan, he was going to go get the record tonight as fast as humanly possible. That seemed very clear from about, 10 seconds in. Fair to say?
Yeah, I don't think any of us expected to see him launching the way that he did right off the bat. And he had 19 of the first 21 points. And I don't know if this is a record. I don't know if we can get the stats guys on this, but is 21 points to start a season the most without allowing a basket ever in a Marquette to begin a Marquette season?
You know who I bet's going to tell us that in his post-game article? The homie Ben Steele. Thanks for the shout out tonight, Ben. Hope that's in the article, and if not, you failed us and you're dead to us.
And speaking of fast, Marcus's feet were looking a little fast on his record-breaking shot.
We have to go. We're going
clearly a travel. We're
going to race right up to that. Like there's things to talk about with Markus and with the newcomers, but for the love, Pete, the guy could have ran across the Milwaukee River. Like, how many steps did you count him at?
I had him at 6.
That's absolutely unbelievable.
Maybe that's just a great sign that he's really going to get the star treatment from the officials this year.
I would love it. I hope Markus gets to take James Harden steps everywhere around the floor before he shoots a 3. It'd be great.
He's so diminutive and shifty that he can get away with that sort of stuff because he's always constantly moving with the ball.
For those listening that may not have watched the game, Markus broke Jarrell McNeil's scoring record at the beginning of the second half on his first shot attempt. It was a 3-pointer where he literally carried the ball like it was a football for the better part of 8 feet and pulled up.
The better football analogy, I think, is he lined it up like a kicker on a kickoff.
Yes, that would be more.
He took that late double stutter step and settled right into that.
That would be more apt. And I don't plan on going in deep, but we did just mention his name. Pour one out for the great Jarrell McNeil. 10 years as Marquette's all-time leading scorer. That was our guy that we graduated with. Jarrell, we salute you. Friend of the pod. Hell of a run. You were well-deserving of that title for a decade. But congrats to Markus Howard with an entire senior season in front of him. He is the program's all-time leading scorer. Wow.
Yeah, and I'd just like to add for all you Jarrell fans out there, make sure to go to Marquette men's basketball Twitter right now, where it looked like they just threw Jarrell in front of the microphone, and unwarranted, and told him, say something about Markus Howard real quick.
Jarrell,
because he looked like he was doing some Markus Howard improv.
I thought Jarrell was a hostage in that video. I wanted him to blink to tell us he was okay. I was like, Jarrell, give me the real Jarrell McNeil what you want to say for Markus breaking the record. You can bust his chops a little bit. That's fine. Don't be polite. That's not what Jarrell would normally do.
I think the real question is, did Markus miss his final free throw of the first half in order to make it on a shot? You think so?
Definitely did.
Oh, no doubt about that.
Let's look back. Let's all agree to look back at that and watch his form and compare the first two against the third. I think it was just a little slightly different. I think he was a little short-wristed.
We'll get the Zapruder film on that. Let me get this before we kind of get on to big observations from the game. Give me one big picture thought on Markus here. I mean, with so much of the last 3 years now going into year 4, he's dominated our conversation and really the attention and enthusiasm of the fan base. I mean, I can't believe that we're talking about somebody breaking this record with 30-plus games to play of their senior year. Unique timing and talent to allow this to happen. Markus has been at Marquette at a time where, we obviously haven't been blessed with a bunch of other gifted scorers, and he's been able to take a high volume of shots. But with that said, he's made a ton of them. And Pete, Pete Worth, he might not be – you're maybe not calling Markus one of the 3 best players in program history by any means, but it's still an all-time great, even if his career ended today.
Would you not call him top 3 of all time? I don't know. I mean, he's definitely one of the most unique players that's ever come through the program. I mean, his ability at 5'10" or 5'11" and only 19 years old to hit the shots that he hits. And his offensive repertoire has only improved dramatically from his freshman year. Like his ability to finish was something I never really thought of when he was kind of being heralded right before the beginning of his freshman year. We heard about how he was a very good shooter. We didn't really know too much about him. And then he showed the ability to kind of put the ball on the floor, finish at the hoop. I didn't expect his creativity and his versatility to be able to hit any shot all over the floor to improve as much as it has. I mean, he can hit the mid-range, fall away. He can finish over big defenders. And obviously he can hit any 3 in the book, whether it's pull up, off the dribble, anything like that. It's just been beautiful to watch.
I think the discussion on the top 3 we could have another day. I guess my immediate point behind that is I think it's a discussion that's worth having. I think there's arguments. I think there's arguments to both sides of it. That's not to belittle his career by any stretch of the imagination. It's just there might be some people you pick over him as, if you're talking best players in program history. Scoring the most points, as we all know, does not necessarily make you the single best player. And we've all seen, that can affect a basketball game in a lot of different ways. But Markus, what a career, what a start to a season to have this record. And Pete, he'll be honored before they play Purdue next week as the program's all-time leading scorer. So congrats to him. Hopefully a nice crowd on hand to give him a little love pregame before they tip that one off. But Pete, moving on from Markus, because we're going to have all season to talk about Markus, no doubt.
Yeah, let's hope he just gets at least one NCAA tournament win under his belt.
Well, and there's going to be plenty of time to talk about that as we go too. Early observations from you on the new additions to the roster, specifically the other guy starting beside him in the backcourt, Kobe McEwen.
Oh, I loved his game. Having another competent, aggressive, and confident ball handler is going to be huge for this team. And he went 3 for 3 from 3, I believe, tonight. Obviously, we know the competition, but a guy with his size at 6'4", ability to shoot, ability to penetrate, and confident passing and a willing passer. And he also got 7 rebounds. So loved his game, loved what I see from him. Obviously, we, like I said, we know the competition, but we'll have to see it in the Big East Conference. But love that. And then even Samir Torrance as a freshman, just the way he was kind of out there leading that second unit. Yeah, he turned the ball over a few times, but I believe he ended up with 3 assists. He looks confident in passing the ball, too. The way he was kind of whipping it around, you can tell that he kind of is a natural passer just from the few, 7 minutes that we saw of him. He looks like he enjoys passing the ball. And I after having Joseph Chartouni as our backup point guard last year, that makes me pretty happy. So, sorry to Chart.
It was just this time last year that I was so high on Joseph Chartouni, and ladies and gentlemen, just don't trust my basketball analysis is really the main point.
I'll try to avoid any Chart references from here on out.
Yeah, if you could. No, Pete, you laid it out. 11 points for Kobe in his first game, 3 for 3 from 3, as you already pointed out. Threw in 7 boards with a couple assists, so productive. Helped in various areas. Defensively, it's hard to judge against the team they just played, like you said. Loyola-Maryland might finish 3rd in the Chicago Catholic League. That's not exactly a elite Division I program. So I don't want to make any rash judgments on. They look good defensively. That's not. We'll learn against Purdue. We'll learn against Purdue next week. Just kind of erase anything you thought you might have seen in that game today. But that's encouraging, and you're right. Having another shooter playing off the ball with him will immediately help. And he can obviously get to the rim and, like you said, aggressively attack the basket. And really more of the same from the rest of that lineup. Sakar, 11 points, did it slashing, getting to the basket. Theo's a monster around the rim, nearly puts up a triple-double. Didn't reach double figures in any of those categories, but 8 boards, 7 blocks, 7 points. I mean, just a standard Theo outing. Brendan Bailey a little quiet, but I think this is he's stepping into what was Sam Joey Hauser's role. So he'll, I think we'll see Brendan expand as the year goes on. But I think that's a starting lineup you're going to see, barring injury, pretty much be the 5 that they roll with for the majority of the season. Fair to say?
Yeah, I think that's fair, for sure. I mean, we were seeing all this stuff in the offseason about how they were going to play 2 forwards, like Ed and Theo, at the same time. What the hell was that about? I never got on the pod or I'm not one to kind of always just be commenting about what I think is going to happen in the Marquette basketball season 3 months beforehand on Twitter and everything. But it's that just seemed ludicrous to me. How are you going to be a capable offensive team, a college basketball team with those 2 guys on the court at the same time all the time? I don't know. That always confused me. But I love the second unit. Especially the way that Greg Elliott played, who we could kind of consider him a newcomer since it's been 2 years since he's been on the team.
Right.
But, he shot the ball well, hit both of his 3-point attempts, and I just love Greg as a. You can tell he's kind of like the class clown of the squad, but he keeps everybody fresh, keeps everybody kind of loose, and but when he's on the court, brings that intensity and brings that defensive intensity, and that's what I think we're maybe missing a little bit last year.
No flipping doubt, and it's you're right. Just a guy you pull for. The injuries, break your heart for all the time he had to sit out. I'm glad he's back. I'm glad he looked fairly healthy today. I hope he feels healthy. That ankle stays strong for him the rest of the season. A healthy Greg Elliott would be a fantastic thing for this basketball team. We lost Pete Mohan. That's why we haven't heard his voice. We're not just boxing Pete out right now because he has, janky internet out in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts these days. So, Pete, pay your internet bill. What the hell, man? I guess we can wrap it up with this, Pete Worth. The main test, we already kind of alluded to it. It's going to be next week when you play Purdue. Well, granted, Carson Edwards mercifully isn't there. Isaac Haas isn't there to torture Matt Helt like he did 2 years ago, which we're all still scarred by. But this is another strong Matt Painter, big Purdue team that will probably come in maybe favored. I don't know. I would think slightly favored. I haven't dove in and done my Purdue research yet, but we'll have to.
Well, games at Purdue, right?
Oh, never mind. I buried Pete Mohan, but he's back from the dead.
We are at home against Purdue, which is
That's what I thought.
surprising because we were home against them last time, weren't we? I would still expect them to be a couple point favorite. I don't know, just because of their experience and coming off of a Elite Eight run last year. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Pete Mohan, per don't or per will?
Are you asking per will they?
I am.
I think that they per will.
Per might?
I don't know.
Wait, who will per will? And who will per won't?
Our audience is. I gotta add it.
I really don't.
I gotta add it all.
I really don't like this.
No, you don't.
For us.
Yeah.
At this time of the season,
it's it will be a challenging. Not challenge.
I'm expecting us to lose.
Yeah, I think it'll be an interesting test as to where we are. Let me get this from you guys before we wrap up. We touched on Marcus's accomplishment. Pete and I just kind of went over some of the newbies with their original thoughts. Pete, I'd say the biggest theme when you come out of this today, and again, grain of salt, Loyola-Maryland, but incredibly high volume day for Markus, right? Came out firing and didn't stop. Did slow down in the second half, but basically that's because, ended up on the bench and he could start throwing the ball around. Attempted 20 shots today. Do you think Markus Howard will average 20 field goal attempts a game for this season? Is that something he could average for an entire year? Both of you.
Yeah, I mean,
I think
if he's why not?
Yeah. I mean, if he shoots 20 field goal attempts in a game we win by 35, then I think that's a pretty good indicator that he probably will continue to continue to go at that pace. All that.
Let me ask you
Indicative
guys
of
this.
Success.
I have a good question for you, Brian and neighbor. Today it seemed like they didn't really run much of the two big men in, and I think that obviously that has a lot to do with Chase Johnson being hurt and not being available. But do you think that because of his unavailability that we're going to just not see any of that really at all, and they'll just split the minutes between Theo and Morrow, or do you think we'll actually see them play some minutes together?
Well, while you were paying your internet bill just a minute ago, Pete and I did lightly discuss that. And
okay. I'm done.
No. Pete, we didn't hit that exact angle of it. Pete was saying he kind of thought it was just chatter in the offseason to say that he was going to play two bigs together because he didn't think the way this roster was constructed. Why would you – I don't want to say waste is the proper word, but you kind of need shooters on the floor to balance it out, to play two bigs. But maybe with the 7-footer, he thinks he can. Chase Johnson was – I don't want to say underwhelming, but he was average at Utah. He was average production for a guy of his size and talent, 8 points and however many rebounds a game.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be surprised if they played him and a Theo or the other Ed Morrow alongside of him at any point during the season.
Well, it'd be different if Ed or Theo could hit a shot outside of 4 feet,
Right.
But they
neither
of them have shown any example of them being able to hit like a 10 to 12 foot jump shot, mid-range jump shot, in which
that's fine.
That's when those like a 4 or 5 combo can play that high low if there's a threat to that one of those guys can shoot it from the top of the key or something like that.
Right.
So considering that neither of them can do that, I wouldn't expect it.
I think for me the biggest problem in this game was just a continued trend that we saw last year, and that's just a bit of a loose handle from all of the ball handlers. We had, 5 different guys with at least 3 turnovers, which we can't have happen. And we had our assist to turnover ratio was 18 to 21. So on the negative side of things there for sure. So I just really would like to see tighter handles from some of these guys. It seemed like Kobe was on the floor a lot, and I don't know if it was just getting used to the new shoes or if the floor is too clean at the beginning of the season or whatever. But it seemed like Greg Elliott, too, seemed like he was playing a little bit out of control. So I'd just like to see those guys that, while it's nice to distribute some of that ball handling, they can't just be turning it over left and right.
Yeah, that's what I'm curious to see how this season plays out, because Marcus is going to probably do what he did in the first half more often than not. We can kind of maybe expect that. Not 30 points, but at least, start kind of dominating offensively. When he's not doing that, will these other wing players that we have be able to carry the scoring load? Because you're right, they're not great ball handlers. They're not, outside of maybe, I would say, Sakar, and it looks like probably Kobe it might be the second best at driving and finishing at the rim. These other guys, Greg and Jamal and Brendan, they obviously have a lot of talent and they can hit the open shot, but will we be able to create offense when Marcus isn't? That's my biggest question.
I agree, and I think that it's kind of disappointing looking at the box score to see only 2 free throw attempts between Sakar and Kobe. I was really looking forward to them driving more and, bringing contact to the plate around the rim and finishing out there. And it seemed more often than not that Sakar was settling for jumpers and things like that. He had 11 field goals. But I don't know. I would rather see Sakar driving strong than taking jump shots, and maybe that's just me.
No, I agree with you, but I think that'll balance out as the season progresses. I do gotta say, I gotta like the 18. Yeah, we actually had 21 turnovers compared to 18 assists, but 18 assists on 30 field goals is a pretty good percentage, and 14 of 23 from 3 obviously is amazing, 61%. You take Marcus's out, and you're still 7 for 13, which is over 50%. So gotta like that too.
I think that we have some capable shooters. Obviously Marcus is an out-of-this-world three-point shooter, but it looks to me like between Bailey, Elliott, and Kane that we can expect that group to shoot somewhere in the 38 to 40% range. At least that's the way that their stroke looks to me. I don't know that we can expect that from Kobe McEwen. He's probably more like a 35% three-point shooter, although he hit all 3 of his today. So I don't know. What do you think, Brian?
It's certainly a storyline that's going to evolve with the way they can get more production from the guys on the wing. And Pete, you're right. It's whether they have the ability to survive if Marcus is struggling or not on the court for any particular reason. It is something we will certainly follow throughout the season. That's going to do it for episode 1 of the Real Chili Podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next week.
Somebody didn't listen to the real episode 1.
Sorry to.
Ooh.
I didn't know. So.